We're part of a larger national movement called the Sunrise Movement. Sunrise Movement has 130,000 members, 250 hubs all across the nation. We're one of those hubs. We just launched our hub in Providence. And yeah, let me tell you all about it. I'm going to go into the problem that we're trying to attack and our solutions. Whew. So what's the problem? Climate change is happening. We know that. That's why y'all are here. But it's not in the far-off future. The climate crisis is something that we have 11 years to address, according to a UN climate report. You know this. I'm assuming you've been over this. But what are the side effects of a warming planet? Just like
warm weather.
warm weather, so increasing temperatures.
Rising sea levels.
Rising sea levels.
Harsher storms.
Bigger, deadlier storms, absolutely. What? Yeah, the ice sheets melting.
Drier farming seasons.
Drier farming seasons, yes. And what does that mean for our food?
It means that there's a less quantity of food that's able to be irrigated because crops that are dried out because of a warming climate.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that targets our food security, right? Go ahead.
Floodings.
Floodings, absolutely. Mudslides.
Not recycling, like there's like trash all over the floor, like landfills,
Yeah.
trash all over our neighborhoods.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Recycle so that way the environment can be healthy.
okay, awesome. One last one.
Does tectonic plates causing tsunamis and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm not actually sure if that's because of climate change, but that definitely does cause some very extreme events like earthquakes and tsunamis. So yeah, definitely dangerous. All right, so I just want to show you some headlines from the previous 2 or 3 years. And yeah, 2017 was the most expensive year on record for the United States, just based on aid relief and the natural disasters that plagued it. Who can name some natural disasters right off the top of your head that has had a lasting impact on our society? Sandy.
Fires.
Yeah, I want specific ones, fires where, for example? California. Yeah. All right.
Wasn't there another wildfire that just happened in California?
I don't know if just in California, but there is one that's happening right now in Florida. So I'll get into that. Yeah. So right now, as we speak, the Everglades are on fire. It's consuming more than 32,000 acres, and this is happening. Tonight is the debate for the Democratic Party, and this is literally consuming the area. And how many of you want to bet that not a lot of questions are going to be about climate change? Yeah. Recently, 2017, we also had Hurricane Maria. I was there in the island while this happened. I personally didn't have electricity in my house for 3 months. And I was one of the lucky ones because people in my area didn't have electricity for a year. People in the mountains that still have intermittent electricity. People who don't have access to water. It's a situation that just because it happened 2 years ago doesn't mean the effects are still not, they're still affecting us, is what I wanted to go with that. And this isn't just an isolated hurricane. We know that these storms and these natural disasters will become stronger, more deadlier, more frequent in the future. But there is some good news, which is why I'm here. We have the solutions. Can someone read this out for me?
Building and running new renewable energy is now cheaper than just running existing coal and nuclear plants.
Right. So renewable energy is more profitable right now than fossil fuel energy. So Not only is a transition to renewable energy already occurring because of the decreasing cost of production and installations, but there's also a huge job market that is being created and that is employing currently more people in the fossil fuel than the fossil fuel industry. Right here in Rhode Island, we have the offshore wind farm, and it's like one of the only ones in the United States, if not the only one. How many of you heard about the report from the UN that said we had 12 years to solve the climate crisis before we experience a climate tipping point? Yeah, a few hands. So last year, the UN released that report. They said we have 12 years before there's a climate tipping point. There's a point of no return. And now it's a year later, we have 11 years now. So that means that this transition that is already occurring needs to happen on a much more massive scale, and it needs to happen faster. Why isn't it happening? Fossil fuel CEOs and corrupt politicians are blocking action. And how do these corrupt politicians do this? How do they block action? They deceive the people, they buy out politicians, and they consolidate power within the government. This whole time, the fossil fuel CEOs knew. From 1978, this is an ExxonMobil internal document quote. So since 1978, they knew that they had a limited time window before action needed to be taken. And instead of taking that information and taking action, they denied. This quote just exemplifies how they kind of deflected at these national conferences, like in the Kyoto Protocol in 1997, which was an international conference for climate. They completely denied the existence of climate change. And it's something that we're experiencing in the United States today. People still denying the existence of climate change. And they deflected responsibility. They said, you know what, this isn't our problem. People are gonna keep on using petroleum, people are gonna keep on burning fossil fuels, so we can't do anything about it, which is not the case. And I just wanna show this graph from the 2016 election, and here are the different parties, and this is the Koch network. The Koch brothers are two brothers that are the heads of ExxonMobil. Their combined wealth is $86 billion. And in the 2016 election, they spent almost as much as the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, just lobbying, paying out politicians, and making sure that they don't vote against their interests. Right here in Rhode Island, our communities are being hurt. In Southside Providence, we have the highest rates of asthma in the whole country because of these interests that place power plants in communities of color, communities that are low income, and pollute the environment, pollute the waterways, and pollute our air, the air we breathe. So what are we gonna do about this? Okay, this is Sunrise's plan to win. This is our plan to win. We're gonna build people power. We're gonna build political power, and we're gonna build the people's alignment. So, building people power, we're reaching out to all the youth. People from 14, 13 years old to 30 years old, kind of, that's the age range. This is a movement led by the youth, not just students, but people who didn't have the chance to study, who are representing their communities that are getting hurt. And then we're also building political power. With this people power, we're voting our elected officials who are not in our best interests out of office. We're pressuring them. And we're making sure that these officials who are supposed to represent our best interests and make sure that our generation is able to survive in the face of a climate crisis, look out for our best interests. And this would be the people's alignment, the people and the political power. So I just want to address something about political power and why Rhode Island is important. So does anyone know Senator Whitehouse? Senator Whitehouse? Yeah. Well, he's known as the climate hawk, right, in Congress. And or like the champion for climate change. But the problem is he won't sign on to something I'm about to present right now. The Green New Deal. So this is something that Sunrise and many think tanks were pushing for, and we have changed the conversation about climate change in the nation. We have brought it forward thanks to this resolution that we are able to support. And right now there are 93 co-sponsors in Congress, and Senator Whitehouse isn't one of them. So that's why Rhode Island is so important in the national conversation about climate change. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Ed Markey, they propose this resolution which tries to address the climate crisis on the scale that is necessary. So we have 11 years to address this crisis, and they propose this resolution, which isn't a bill, it's kind of like a set of goals, a vision for the next 10 years on the action that needs to be taken in order to address the climate crisis. So, yeah, any questions about that I could answer right off the bat?
So Whitehouse is not one of our senators, and you know the reason why?
Oh, so he is not one of our senators, not one of the senators that is sponsoring the Green New Deal, because he believes it is too far-reaching, because the Green New Deal does not only address climate change as a single issue, it recognizes that climate change is an issue that affects all other areas of life. It affects healthcare, education, and it's also about correcting the injustices that have been perpetuated throughout the years that were that were made legal by the New Deal from the 1930s. So this tries to correct the economic injustice, the racial injustice, the gender injustice. So, yeah, he's not on board because he takes money from National Grid as well. He won't sign the no fossil fuel money pledge, and he thinks it's too overarching, and it would be really difficult to pass in Congress. But the thing is, this is a resolution, not an actual bill, so all you need to do is sign it and see what the next steps are. Yeah. So right now, there's a lot of talk in the Democratic Party about doing a climate debate. This is something that we've brought forth. Some Democratic candidates have agreed. Jay Inslee, Joe Biden, I'm not sure Warren, but they want a climate debate. The DNC, the Democratic National Convention, has absolutely refused because they don't want to do a single issue debate. And right now, as we're speaking, these kids are outside protesting and asking to meet with the chair of the DNC for a climate debate because this is the crisis of our times. So they were there since yesterday, and they slept all night, and they're waiting to be heard. And I just want to plug some events that are happening here in Rhode Island, because you're probably thinking, how can I get involved here? What can I do next? So we are having an orientation training from July 13th and 14th. It's a 2-day event, which basically teaches you the DNA of Sunrise in a much more elaborate fashion than I did. And you spend 2 days getting to know our in-depth political strategy and our how we're going to build people power and how we're going to build political power. So that's happening, and I would love for you all to sign up to our listserv if you want to keep up with events.